Hello everyone, my name is Sashri Kanda and in this video I'll be explaining about my next year's project. I have built a Paytm wallet like application that supports transactions where a user can add money into their wallet, and also it supports peer-to-peer transactions. So the dashboard looks like this, and we have the transfer option, transactions history, and the peer-to-peer transfer option. The architecture I have followed is a turbo repo for managing different applications in a single repository. So I have the user application, merchant application, and the backend, and there is a dummy webhook that acts as a bank server. So Postgres database I have used for backend for database purpose, and so this is the code base, and we have the user application. So if I need to reach the dashboard page, then the endpoint would be like suppose in my case the user app is running on the local host 3000. So if I need to reach the dashboard page, the endpoint would be look like localhost port number slash dashboard. Then this component will be rendered. If you see, there is an user, but I have included it in the parentheses, means it is neglected. If I haven't included this parenthesis, then the root would look like localhost port number slash user slash dashboard. Then this will be rendered. Suppose slash p2p, then this specific page will be rendered. So this is how the file-based routing actually works. And in my application, I decided to keep sidebar for these components. So I have a layout uh, which I have rendered a sidebar, and all the following children of this file will be rendered here. So the sidebar will be fixed for these entire components of the pages. So this is the dashboard, and P2P peer-to-peer transactions, and the database schema is I have used Postgres and Prisma ORM for reducing the overhead of writing queries. So this is the user schema and the merchant on-ramp transaction. This on-ramp transaction is something like so for an example, uh, let us take an Coursera example. So when a user comes to the Coursera application and buys any course, then he will be navigated to a bank server, maybe a HDFC, SBI, or whatever. Like the Coursera application will be like, I have a user, uh, he wants to send money to me, please handle it. So the bank server will then update the backend application of the Coursera with the status. Then the backend application of uh, Coursera application will intimate the front end application of the Coursera of the status of the payment. So in like until unless our application is a big platform like a Paytm or a Razorpay, we don't have a direct contact with the bank servers. We'll be dealing with the third party uh, applications like Razorpay. So this is how the on-ramp transactions works. So when a user actually buys, then he will be navigated to the bank server. We don't immediately get back the success message from the bank server. Instead, the bank server will intimate the Coursera backend that the money is added with the status. Then based on the status, we'll be rendering in the front end. So we have on-ramp transactions balance and the transfers. This is the level. See, we can see the on-ramp status would have either of these status, success, failure, processing. Initially, when the user clicks on completes the payment, then it will be in processing stage. When the bank confirms the backend of the our application, then either of this will be rendered success or a failure. So this was the schema, and I have a reusable components here in the UI. So these are the app bar, button, card, and various other input field components which I can reuse in this applications in this. So I can use these components in either of these applications. So I mainly focused on the end user application, and so these are the components for adding money and the app bar, and we have the component to render the balance for rendering the transactions on-ramp transactions, and we have like components like received transfers and the sender transfers. So this is the component for peer-to-peer transactions. as we can see, it will take peer-to-peer transaction will take you to this specific component where it extracts a number, uh, to the receiver's number and the amount, and when the user clicks on the send, so this specific um, action will be triggered, and so from the session it will collect the user ID who is currently logged in, that is from, and it will also collect the uh, to number from the body. Then it will initialize a transaction, and during this specific transaction the balance will be locked, and we'll be fetching the balance, checking the balance if there are sufficient funds or not. Then we'll be proceeding with the creating a debiting amount. So the transaction concept is used here. So a transaction means it is treated as a single unit. Every operation is treated as a single unit. What I mean by that is we cannot like if it has to be success or it has to be terminated and reverted back to the initial stage. It should not happen like this. Debiting amount from the sender's account and not creating in the receiver's account. So if either of these operations fails, then it will be cancelled, terminated. And for the authentication purpose, I have used Nextauth, in-house Nextauth, and I'm importing the database. I have used a credentials provider which follows username and password type of authentication. I have used Backrub for password hashing, for encrypting the password. And this is Nextauth for authentication purpose, in-house authentication. Sort validation, sort for input validation, for checking like the phone has to be of this string, and can also fix like the minimum length required is 7. So until unless the user enters the phone number with minimum length 7, uh, it will be success. So the credentials provider, I have followed the credential strategy where I'm collecting the phone number and the password. So this is the function for authorization. So these are the credentials passing, and we'll be parsing it, the input validation, and once it is success, then we'll be hashing the password, and we'll see if there is an existing user with a specific number. If there is an existing user, then we'll be comparing the password and returning them with the session cookie. If not, then we will be creating a new user, and we'll also initialize a balance for him with an initial amount of 1000 rupees, and we'll be returning the session with a token. JWT token is used for identifying the client. So this JWT token is a JSON web token which is generated through a password and a payload. This can be decoded by anyone but can only be verified through the password that is used to create this specific token. And this is how the client is identified by the server. So at the time of sign in or sign up, a token is generated and a cookie is set with that specific token. And for any subsequent request sent by the client to the server, this cookie that contains token will be sent along with the request. And this is how the server identifies the client. And so we have create on-ramp transactions. Previously I have discussed that when a user clicks on pay now and completes the transaction, then like there is an handler that checks, wait for the bank server to confirm whether the status has been updated or not. And initially it will be shown processing. Once the bank server responds with the specific message, then that will be rendered for the peer-to-peer transactions. And so this is high level how the my project looks like. So getting the session from the user, if there is any session, then he will be redirected to the dashboard. If not, he will be redirected to the sign-in page. So this have this main application. Throughout the application there will be an app bar. So inside this user app, I have wrapped up in this layout. This is wrapped into a layout that will be having the sidebar, and this will be wrapped up in this specific layout, and this will be having app bar. So these are the components, the sidebar, the center transfers and all. So yeah, so I will just show you the functionalities. So now the user has been logged out and there is no cookies set in the, so there is no token here. So I can also on navigate to the dashboard page, so he will be redirected to the sign in page. So when I click on login, then he will be transferred to this specific page, and this is the dashboard and the transfer page. So initially the balance we have is 800. Now let me just show you by adding 1,000 rupees. So I can select the uh, provider, bank provider. So now let me just select so it will navigate to the portal of the HDFC Bank. Since this is a dummy web application, we will not be doing that here. Instead, I have created a see, we can see that it is in the processing stage. So unless there is a message from the bank saying that the amount has been successfully credited into your application and debited from the user end, this will be in the processing stage. So to make it for demonstration purpose, I have created a dummy bank webhook server, so that can actually acts like a bank server. So a specific token will be generated for this specific transaction, and that contains the user ID and the amount, and based upon that the bank webhook server will update the status if there is a successful transaction. For example, since we have initiated this transfer, we will take out and make it that. So NPX Placement Studio, like I will show the database for us. Actually, I have hosted the database in the A1DB, and the user currently signed in is this one, and we can see there is an on-ramp transaction for him. So that is in processing stage with the ID 9. The token here generated here is in processing stage. I will take out this token. Then the amount is, and the user who initiated this specific transaction is 8. So I will go to the dummy bank webhook that actually collects the token and user ID and updates the status. So increment the amount. So what I will do is I will send this details to the specific endpoint with the token. This is the token and this was the amount, and it is the same. The user ID was 8. So when I click on send, the bank server will be sending me the message that the message has been the transaction has been captured. Means this 1,000 rupees has been successfully created into the Paytm application and debited from the user account. So now it will now we can actually show the balance in the wallet. So when I click on and refresh, we can see the success here, and the balance also incremented with the 1,000 rupees. And so we have the transactions where I have just shown the on-ramp transactions here, like only the transactions that has been added to the wallet. I can also integrate the P2P transactions here. So now let me just transfer money to the another user. So we have another user that I will collecting the user, and we can see the balance of this specific user is actually 6,200. Now we should will be transferring the amount. The amount I will be sending is 200. So when I click on send, then a 200 should be debited from the currently signed in user, that is Sai Srikanda 12. So previously the balance was 1,800. Now we can see the balance is 1,600. It has been decremented by 200, and there should be an incremented 1,400. So we can see the balance has been incremented for this specific user receivers bank. details. So this was the basic application I have created, and when I click on logout, the cookie is clear. Let me just show you the cookie. When I click on, a cookie will be so we have the cookie sent here with the token, and when I click on logout, and suppose if I fetch, so I don't have any cookies now. I cannot go to the dashboard page, so he'll be redirected to the he'll be redirected back to the sign in page. Thank you. So now I'll be explaining about the upsides of Next.js over the React. The number one upside is server-side rendering. So to get rid of the search engine optimization problems, in React, for initial render, there will be a single HTML root element which contains the script files and will be rendered accordingly in a waterfall model. So when Google crawlers or Bing crawlers try to scrap into our application, then it will not find anything in the initial HTML element, since they are called based upon the waterfall model JavaScript files, script files. So suppose if you think your application need to be search engine optimized, then server-side rendering would be a great option. So before sending into the client, everything will be rendered into the HTML or single element and will be sent to the client. So Next.js is also a full stack framework. It supports a single code base for both front end and the back end, and it follows file-based routing. And instead of having a string like that, we can have a file-based routing. So if suppose an endpoint is like slash dashboard, for example, in my case, suppose if I need to reach the dashboard page, that is this, then the root would like the localhost port number slash dashboard. If I have included the parentheses for the user, so it can be neglected. If I haven't included the parentheses, then the endpoint would look like the localhost port number slash user slash dashboard for this specific page or the component. But for suppose if for a merchant app, it will be running on a specific port number. So the same. This is how the file-based routing works. Thank you.